So the first part of this activity is working with pages. Just practice working with pages. So you're going to open a document supplied to you in the portfolio folder called Portfolio. Now, you've been supplied with an InDesign file and an IDML in case you're working on an older version of InDesign. But if you can open the INDD, that's the InDesign file, that's the one you should open, otherwise the IDML. Okay, and we've got a document here. If you go to your Pages panel, you'll see there's many double page spreads, and then there's a cover. So I want you in the Pages panel to double click on page 1, and then I want you this divider here. You'll see that when you move over it, you get this little double arrow icon. This is the divider between master pages at the top and actual pages at the bottom. So what I want you to do is take that divider and move it so that you can see your master pages thumbs, preview, and none, and I want you to then extend your pages down to the bottom so that you can see as many pages as you can. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is look at inserting pages, and there's quite a few ways that you can do this. So the first one is I'm going to go to the pages 4-5 spread, so I'm just going to double click on the thumbnail for page 4 to go to page 4, and I'm going to go to the bottom of my Pages panel, and you'll see there's a button here that says Create New Page. If I click on that, you can see that it has inserted a page immediately after the page that I was on. So page 5 now becomes a new page, and it's using the master page A thumbs, and so what was page 5 gets pushed over to page 6. So that's the first way of inserting pages, and usually you would use this if you're at the end of a document and you just want an extra page. Let's have a look at another way. So if I go to page 6 here, double click, and then I go to my Pages panel options up here, you'll see that I have insert pages. So if I click on that, it gives me this little dialog box that says how many pages do I want to insert, where do I want to insert them, and do I want to use a particular master page for those new pages. Now we're going to discuss master pages in a moment. So we're going to say insert one page after page 6, and we're going to leave it on none master page and say OK. So now you can see I get a new blank page immediately after page 6. Alright, the next way is to go to my layout menu, layout, pages, add page. And here it's just going to add a page exactly where I am immediately after the page that I'm on. I can also go to layout, pages, insert pages. And now I get that same dialog box where I can say, let's say I want to insert 3 pages, and I want to go after page 8, and I want to use the B preview master page and say OK. So now you can see that it's inserted after page 8, 3 pages using the B preview master page. Okay, so that's dealing with inserting pages. Next, we're going to be looking at duplicating spreads. So I'm going to go back to pages 4 and 5, and I'll just double click on the numbers, which means that it selects both pages in the double page spread. And if I press Command or Control 0, it fits one page. If I press Option Command or Alt Control 0, it fits the double page spread. Okay, so here I have my double page spread. Now if I want to duplicate this spread, I can go to my options and I can say duplicate spread. Now you'll notice it goes right to the bottom of the document, and it's added those 2 pages to the bottom as pages 23 and 24. If I want to duplicate a double page spread or even just a single page to a particular location, what I can do is hold down Option on the Mac or Alt on Windows and drag the numbers. So I'm dragging on 4 and 5. I'm going to drag down, and can you see there's that little vertical line that jumps down? So I want that line to jump between 8 and 9 and 10 and 11. So it's there on the right hand side. And then when I release my mouse, always release your mouse first. If you release your key first, it's going to go to the bottom of the document again. So release your mouse and you'll see that now you can release Option or Alt, and that double page spread now goes to the exact location you want it to go to. Next, we're going to look at deleting pages. So if I go to 10 and 11 here, double page spread, I can delete by just clicking on a page or a double page spread and clicking on the little trash can here. If I want to delete more than one page, I select the first page, and remember, selecting the page in the Pages panel is double clicking, and then I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom, hold down Shift and click on the bottom page so that you can see I've highlighted a whole lot of pages there. And then I can click on the trash can and it says you're going to delete pages that have content on them. Do you want to go ahead? I'll say OK, and it now deletes all of those pages. You can also, so if I just take that one page, you can also go to your Pages panel options, and there's delete page there. That will also do it. And you can also go to your layout menu and you can go to Pages, delete pages, and I've got page 7 highlighted there, and I'll just delete page 7. Next, we're going to look at moving pages. So we've been messing around with this document a bit too much, so let's just load it again. So I'm just going to close it and don't save, and let's just open up that portfolio again. So we've got back to where we were, and then let's just go back up to the cover page. So what we're going to do to move a page, I'm going to go to page 5, double click on it to select it. To move, I just literally drag and watch that line, and when the line, let's just say if I go down further here, okay, I need to be able to see, okay, I'm just going to go back there, undo that, so that I can see all my pages. So I'm going to drag page 5 down here to 14 and 15, and between 14 and 15, and release, and it's going to move that page. That page now becomes page 14. If you want to move multiple pages, so let's say I go to page 4, double click, and then hold down Command on the Mac or Control on Windows and choose 9 and 10. So I've got discontiguous pages, in other words pages that are not directly next to each other, selected. And then I'm going to go to my Pages panel here, and I'm going to choose Move Pages. And it then says, okay, you've got 4, 9 and 10 selected, where do you want to move them to? So I'm just going to say after page 16 and OK. And then it moves those pages there. Now if I have another document open, so I'm just going to actually create a new document. Let's just choose A4, and doesn't really matter what the settings are here, and create. So I've now got a blank document called Untitled 1. It could be any other document. You can move pages to another document. So if I go and I select again 4, hold down Command or Control, 9 and 10, and then I go to my options and I choose Move Pages, and this time I'm going to say I'm going to move it to Untitled Document. So, and then it says, do you want to delete the pages after moving? Well, strictly speaking, moving would mean that those pages would actually be removed out of this document and appear in the other document. But that will only happen if you check this. So if I say yes, delete after moving, and say OK, and OK, now you can see those pages have disappeared from here. But if I go to my Untitled document, I now have those pages there. Okay, so that's moving page. So what about changing page sizes? So we know already, so if I go back, I'm just going to close this Untitled document, and let me open a fresh version of this portfolio, just so that I'm not working with something that's been too messed around with. So if I wanted to make a page bigger, I know that I can go to File, Page Document Setup, and I can change the document dimensions here, but that's going to change all the pages. What if I just want one page to have a little bit extra on it? So let's say that this is going to be a printed portfolio, and on the cover I want a little fold out strip where people can tear off let's say my contact details and take them with them, or something like that, or maybe a competition or something. So on the cover I want to add 10 centimeters to the right hand side of the page, but only this page. So then I'm going to go to my tools, to this tool called the page tool, and up at the top here I have some settings for this. So what I want to do is add 10 centimeters to the right hand side, which means this reference point widget here, I need to pin the left hand side. So I'm just going to pin it in the middle there. That just means that whatever changes I make, this left hand side does not change. It changes on the right hand side. Then I want to go to my width value here, and one of the beautiful things about InDesign is each one of these little number entry fields is a little mini calculator. So I can say 210 millimeters plus 100 millimeters. And when I press enter, it's going to add 10 centimeters to the right hand side of the document. Okay, so that's how you would change the size of a particular page in a document. So we know by now that when you choose facing pages, you get InDesign automatically sets up these double page spreads. So once again, I'm going to just close this and open up a fresh version. And you'll see that because I have facing pages on and I have 16 pages, it's put the cover page as page 1 on its own, and then it's got double page spreads all the way through, and then a back cover. And that's because I've been smart enough to make sure it's in multiples of 4. So 16 means 4 double page spreads both sides. Now, what if you wanted to set up a document that doesn't have double page spreads? So of course you can go back to File, Document Setup, and you can uncheck facing pages and say OK, and now you have individual pages, which might be something that you want if you're not going to send this to a professional printer. Maybe you're just going to print it on your own printer and just staple them together or something like that. But what if you wanted something more sophisticated, maybe like a sort of accordion fold or gate fold type document where you've got more than one panel? So that's where it gets interesting, because if I try and move one of these pages next to the other, because I have facing pages off, it doesn't allow me to. Now if I put facing pages back on, it's always going to keep double page spread. So if I move page 2 up here, it just pushes the cover page down to page 2, it keeps double page spreads. So I can't have more than 2 pages next to each other. So this is the trick. You go to your options for the pages panel, and you'll see down here it says allow document pages to shuffle. I'm going to uncheck that. So now I can take page 2 and I can dock it next to page 1, and I can take page 3 and I can dock it next to page 2, and I can take pages and I can make any kind of configuration. Now this is something you probably don't want to do without consulting your printer first, but in a situation where you need to have pages next to each other in more than double page spreads, this is how you would do it. But don't do it if you don't know what you're doing. You need to do it if you speak to your printer and you discuss how you're going to provide them with the document. They might even say to you, don't bother, just give us one page, individual pages, and we'll do the imposition like this. But this is how you would do it. As soon as I go back and I turn allow document pages to shuffle back on, it says to me, do you want to maintain the current number of pages on these spreads? I'm going to say no. And you can see now it puts it back to double page spreads again. Okay, so we're moving on to working with master pages. So I'm going to open this portfolio again so that we've got the original as it was when we first opened it. And what we're going to do to begin with is we're going to make a new document. Now, master pages are something that you can choose to work with or not work with. You don't have to work with them. They really are about trying to save time. So we're going to create a new document. So File, New Document. We're going to choose Print, A4. Make sure that you're on millimeters. We're going to be Portrait, 8 pages. We're going to set it to 4 columns with a 5mm gutter. That's the gap between the columns. We're going to set our margins, so we're going to unlink them. We're going to set the top margin to 20, the bottom margin to 10, the inside margin to 20, and the outside margin to 10. For bleed and slug, we're going to set that, for bleed we're going to set it to 3mm, and for slug we're just going to set at the bottom a 20mm slug. So let me just recap that. It is A4, print, millimeters, portrait, 8 pages, 4 columns, 5mm gutter, margins, top 20, bottom 10, inside 20, outside 10. Bleed, 3mm, slug only for the bottom, 20. Okay, I don't know why that changed. And then create. Alright, so we have our 8-page document, and at the moment every blank document and new document in InDesign has 2 master pages at the top here. A None master page and an A master. And you can see that all the pages in my document have a little A at the top, that little prefix. That is the indicator that the A master is at the moment being applied to this document. So if I double click on A master and I do something on here, so you're just watching at the moment, you don't have to do this with me. If I just make a rectangle and I fill it with a color, can you see the way that that appears on all the pages, or at least all the left hand pages? If I duplicate that to the right hand side and change it to yellow, you can see that because it's on the master page, all these pages inherit whatever's on the master page. So that's really what master pages are about. It's about feeding content from a common source onto different pages so that you can control them from one place. In a nutshell, although it's a little bit more complex than that. So I'm just going to delete these. So we're still on our master. Now we want to rename it. So for A master, I'm going to right click on it and go to Master Options for A master. And I'm going to call this Cover. And we're going to set it to 1 page instead of 2 pages. So there's our A cover. Now because you haven't actually covered in this module yet how to create stuff, we're going to cheat a little bit and we're going to copy and paste. So we're going to go back to the portfolio document and to the cover and just go to layers and make sure all your layers are unlocked, and we're just going to take our selection tool and select everything on the cover. We're going to copy, so edit, copy. We're going to switch back to the untitled document, make sure we're on A cover by double clicking, and go edit, paste in place. Okay, now because this was on a different, on a double page spread and not a single page, this was on a right hand side, we're going to need to just move it into position. So I'm just going to drag it into position and just use my arrow key just to nudge it so that it's in place. So this is on the master page, so you can see because the A master page is applied to all my pages, that now appears on all my pages, which is fine. We'll fix that in a moment. But now what we need to do is we need to make this more generic, because a master page item is usually a placeholder that you will put content in on the actual pages and not on the master page. So what we're going to do is change a few things here. So when I move over these little boxes with images, you can see that I get this little disc, looks like an old CD. If I click on that disc, it selects the content, and then I'm going to delete. Okay, and then I'm going to go over this disc, click, and delete. I'm going to go over this disc, click, and delete. Now you can't see these, but they're there, so I'm going to select this one. I'm going to change the fill to black with a tint of 20%, and this one black with a tint of 20%, and the same with this one. Okay, so that's one of the things that I always do, because if you don't give your placeholder, your image placeholders, a tint, you often can't see them. So I just give them a grey tint so that I can see that they're there. Then what we need to do is we need to change some of the text that's going to be generic. So this that says Durban, I want to change this to where. Okay, and you can see it's become overset. That little red block says the text can't fit in here, so I'm going to take my selection tool and I'm just going to expand this out a little bit so that it fits in, and then I'll just bring it back so that it fits nicely there. So whenever you want placeholder text, the convention, you don't have to, but the convention is to put it in square brackets. The square brackets are saying this needs to be changed when you are using this master page. Then for portfolio, we click on the little disk, delete the image, and then for photography, we're going to select that and square brackets, title, and then underneath the name of the person who's done this, square brackets, name of artist. Okay, so that's now a very nicely structured master page item. In other words, it's just got placeholders and it's ready for someone to populate with their actual content. Okay, so we're going to make another master page here. So in the master page section, we're going to go to our pages options and new master. We're going to call this one index. We're going to set it to one page, and everything else is fine. A4, orientation portrait, and we're not going to base it on any master page. We're just going to leave it on none, and we're going to say OK. And then again, to save time, we're going to switch back to the portfolio document, and we're going to go to this index page. It's page 3, and what we're going to do is just take the top image, hold down shift, and the top text frame, copy. So edit, copy, or command or control C, go back here and edit, paste in place. And now we want to move this over, and now we just want to make a few changes. So click away, take that little disk, remove the image, and the box is gray with a black stroke, which is fine. I'm just going to zoom in a bit here. Now we need to make sure this box fits exactly, so just adjust it, and then the text frame, we need that to be the same height as the box, and we need it to be the full 3 columns. And now we're going to change this to generic placeholders. So name of work, name of artist, price of work. Okay, so we've got that as our master page here. So what we're going to do is select these 2 items, go to edit, step and repeat, and then we're going to just zero out these values at the bottom, and then we're going to say we want 1, 2, 3, 4. I think 4 is right, and then we're going to adjust the vertical, put preview on so you can see what's happening. Going to adjust the vertical value to 57 millimeters. So we now have 5 rows here, and say OK. Alright, so that is our index master page. Now we want also another master page, but this time instead of copying and pasting, we're going to do it slightly differently. We're going to go to our options for our pages panel, and we're going to go to master pages, load master pages. We're going to go and select that portfolio document and say open, and you can see that it brings in all the master pages from that portfolio document. So we've got our ones that we created, cover and index, and we've also got thumbs and preview. So if I double click on thumbs, that's pretty much what we've already created, so we don't need that one. So I'm going to right click and say delete master spread A thumbs, and then we've got this B preview, which is the one that I want to keep. So this is the preview page that we're going to use. So I'm going to change a few things about it, and that's, well, just one thing basically, is just this text. We're going to change this to placeholders, so name of work, name of artist, price of work. Okay, and you're just using your type tool for this. You're going to learn how to do all of this, so you should be able to figure this out for yourself, but if you get stuck, just ask for help with changing this text, but it's just really basic stuff at the moment. So now that we've got our three master pages, our cover, our index, and our preview, we now need to apply those master pages to the correct pages. So you can see that our cover, A master, is already applied to page 1, which is correct. But for page 2, I want none. So I don't want anything on the inside cover. So I'm going to drag the none master page and drop that onto page 2. Then I want the index master page on page 3. I want the preview master page on 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then I want the none master page on page 8. That's the back cover. So if I now double click on page 1, you can see this document is coming together. I've got my cover, then I've got a blank inside cover, I've got an index page, I've then got preview page 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I've got a blank back cover. So you can see how master pages can be really valuable when you've got many pages to work with, and you would have a series of master pages that you just apply to whichever page you want, and then you can go in and you can actually populate those pages with content. Okay, so I want you to do this exercise, just this one, and save it. So file, save as, and we'll just put this on the desktop and we'll call it portfolio master pages, and then save that with your student name and number as well. Okay, so this is one of the documents that you're going to submit. So obviously the next stage is, what do I do with this now? How do I actually make this my own? Because at the moment it's just generic boxes and generic text. So we're not going to actually do the whole document, but I'm just going to show you here and you can follow along just for practice. So for the cover, we need to make this our own. So what you've got to do is you've got to override the items that you want to edit. So notice that I can't select anything here because I'm on an actual page that's using a master page. If I go back to the master and double click, I can select and edit things. But you don't want to edit things in the master page because that will then change the master page, which is not what you want to do here. So I'm going to go back to page 1, and what you need to do is you need to override by holding down Shift and Command on the Mac, Shift and Control on Windows, and clicking on the things that you want to edit. So I'm going to click on Where, I'm going to click on this title text, I'm going to click on these image frames. And what that does is it releases them from the master page. In other words, it kind of cuts the wire and says, okay, these things are now living on the actual page. They're no longer connected to the master page. So you can now edit them on that page. So I'm going to go and change the text. I'm switching to my type tool, and I'm just going to select this, and I'm going to say Durban, and then the title, I'm going to change that to let's just say nature, whatever, it doesn't matter, and I'll put my name in here. take out the square brackets. Okay, and then to change the images, I'm going to select the first frame here and go to File, Place. And you can just go to the Module Asset Pack Learning Unit 1 Theme 4 activities and just go to that Portfolio Links folder. There's lots of pictures there, so you can just choose any of these pictures. Okay, so I'll put that one in there, and then I'll select here, File, Place. Look at the shortcut is Command or Control D. Okay, so, and then another one here, Command or Control D. Let's choose another image. Okay, so now this is a custom page based on a master page. If I go back to the master, a cover, the master page is still the way it is. So this is where most people get stuck, is they accidentally do their design work on the master page instead of on their actual page. So if you've done this correctly, when you double click on the master page, it should still be generic placeholders. When you double click on the actual page, it should be actual content. Okay, so you don't need to save this because you're only submitting the master page version of this document, but this is just showing you how you would go about going into these pages and customizing them with your own content. So the last thing that we're going to look at here is a different document, so we can close these, not going to save them, and we're going to open up Photo Journal, and there's an InDesign file there, or an IDM if you need it. IDML. So we're going to open up that Photo Journal document. So you can see here we have a cover page, and we have, or at least a page 1 and a page 2, just with some photos, and it's a photo journal called Neighborhoods, and it's issue 12. So a scenario that often happens is that you start designing and you get to a certain stage and you think, you know what, I should have made master pages because this is now becoming a bit tedious for me to continue copying and pasting from page to page and so on. So how do you take a page layout and turn it into a master page? So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to take these 2 pages which are already laid out, and we're going to turn them into master pages for a whole photo journal document. So for page 1, we're going to select page 1, and we're going to go to our options and to master pages, and we're going to say save as master. And so what it's done is it's taken that page and it's turned it into a master page. So if I go here, double click on B master, you can see everything is here. So I'm going to delete A master, so double click, right click, delete master, spread A master. Then for B master, right click, master options for B master, and we're going to set the prefix to A and set the name to Photo Journal Cover. Okay, now we need to make this more generic, so I'm going to select the content grabber in the middle, this little disk for the image, and delete it, and then select the actual box and set it to black, 20% tint. Okay, then Photo Journal is always going to be there, so we leave that on the master page, but Neighborhoods is the theme of this Photo Journal. That's going to change. So I'm just going to double click on that to switch to my type tool, double click again to select all the text, and I'm going to put in square brackets theme. And then for issue number 12, we're going to change the number 12 to XX. Okay, so you can see that it's become overset because there's not enough space there, so I'm going to take my selection tool and just expand the size of that frame so everything fits in there. Okay, so now this is a generic master page where they're going to do the same with page 2. So double click, options, master pages, save as master. Right click on A master and choose master options for A master. We'll set the prefix to B, and we'll call this 3 photo layout. Okay, and now we can change a few things. So Neighborhoods will become theme. Photo Journal issue 12 will become XX. And then we just go to the content grabbers for each one of these and delete and set it to black 20% tint. Delete the photo. Okay, so that's now a nice master page. So now we can go to our actual pages. So page 1, and go to Edit, select all, or Command or Control A, and delete. Page 2, Command A to select all, delete. And we're going to also go to File, Document Setup. We'll say 8 pages, facing pages, and OK. So now we've got an 8-page photo journal. We can start applying the different things. So the cover, that's A, goes to page 1. Yeah, that's right. And then page 2 gets none. Page 3 gets photo layout. Now if you want to apply master pages, if you've got 100 pages, you don't want to have to click on each one and apply a master page. So if I want this B master page to be applied to 4, 5, 6, and 7, I can select those. So select, hold down Shift and select the last one, and then I can go here to master pages and apply master pages. That's the correct one. Apply master pages. I choose photo layout and OK, and then the none master page goes to page 8. So if I now double click here, I've got page 1, page 2 is blank, page 3 is the 3 photo layout, 4, 5, 6, 7 blank. Okay, so now this is ready for you to start populating your own photos and your own content into it. So I want you to save this as well, so save as, and we're going to call this photo journal master pages, and then include your student name and number. So you're going to save that, and then what you're going to do is you're going to hand into this activity those 2 documents. It's going to be the portfolio master pages and the journal master pages. Before we move into creating and importing text, I just want to explain something to you about the use of master pages. Because what I don't want a new user of InDesign to think at this stage is that they have to use master pages all the time. You do not. So if at this stage, if you're thinking, oh my god, why am I even using this program, because everything I do has to involve a master page and it's such a schlep, that is not true. InDesign can be used without master pages. Master pages are there to help you, and the final product actually doesn't have it isn't any better or worse with or without master pages. Master pages are a productivity tool. So when you have your final printed product, someone's not going to look at it and say, oh, this person didn't use master pages, I can see that. It doesn't matter to the end user. It's about being productive and smart in the way that you work. So if you just have a look at this table here that I've created quickly, I've sort of explained a few scenarios where master pages would be helpful and where maybe they actually don't matter. So if it's just a quick once-off document, so if you just want to create a quick letter or a flyer or a brochure or a newsletter, you're not going to do it every month, you're not going to have lots and lots of pages with the same layout and design, then probably leave master pages off and just go straight in and create your pages and make your text frames and your graphic frames and just work like that. If every page is always going to be unique, so if every single page of your document is always going to be a brand new layout with a brand new design and nothing is recycled or repeated on each page, then master pages are redundant, because master pages are all about repeated content. So those 2 scenarios are where master pages might not actually be necessary. But in the following situations, master pages will definitely help you if you can work out how to use them effectively. So if certain pages are going to have things in common, and there's a sizable number of pages, so if it's a 12, 16, 18 page document, and you need page numbering on each page, or at the bottom of each page you've got the same footer with a credit, or something like that, then definitely master pages are going to make your life a lot easier. If certain page layouts are common, so I'm just going to switch to my browser here, and we all know the U magazine. So if you look at this is the latest issue of the U magazine, but if I look down here, these are some back issues here, and you can see that they all have roughly the same layout. So even though the content is different and the text is different, just at a glance you can see that the covers all have a very similar layout to them. And this is a situation where master pages will definitely be used, and I would be very surprised if I went to the publishers of the U magazine and found that they weren't using InDesign and master pages. So here, this is where every month there's an issue. It's the same sort of layout every issue, and so master pages are going to make your life a lot easier. And if I actually go into this particular issue and I just go down, you'll see that there's certain pages that will every single week and every single issue will have a similar layout. So for example, this one here, Ask Dr. Louise. It's the same every single week. It's got the same layout. So a master page is really going to save the designer a lot of time, because they just stamp a master page onto this page. What is it? Page 38. And then they just go in and they change the text and edit the text, and it's just kind of a big time saver. But if there's other pages, like for example, here's some kind of unique layout, there's probably not a master page for this kind of layout, because the designer has actually just done something completely unique and different from scratch. So here there might be a master page for the page numbering and the magazine name at the bottom, but that's about it. And maybe this lifestyle that might be coming from a master page, but otherwise everything else would be unique and not part of a master page. Okay, and then also, if both of the above are true, so if there's certain things that are repeated on all pages, and if there's certain common layouts, then definitely master pages are necessary. So I'm just going to show you two examples of mine where I use master pages. So here's just a letter using a letterhead. Now this I could do without master pages, but it's convenient because if you look in my pages panel, I've actually got my letterhead set up as a master page. So it's called first page, and it's got the masthead and the contact details at the bottom, and then other pages, just the little graphic at the top and the bottom. So whenever I want to create a new letter, or whenever the person that's head of this company wants to create a new letter, they just open InDesign and they just go make a new page and choose whichever master page they're going to apply, and then they just shift command or control click on the text frame, which is here somewhere. Oh no, they're just going to create their own text frame, and off they go. They create some text. So I'm just going to fill that with placeholders. So it's very quick and convenient. And then if you look at the next document, this is actually a sample of my course notes. So I do lots and lots of course notes, and so using master pages is absolutely essential to me, because otherwise I can't be organized. So this is just one little chapter out of one of my lessons. And if I go to pages, you'll see I've got quite a few master pages here. I've got a base page, which just contains the name of the subject and the lesson number and some credentials and page numbers at the bottom. Then I've got a section cover page, I've got my normal pages, and then I've got a cover page. And so when I go to do my documents, I can apply whichever one of those master pages I want to as I'm working. Okay, so I just wanted to say a little bit about master pages, just so that you don't get the wrong impression and think that InDesign is always going to involve master pages and it's a pain. It only uses master pages when it's necessary. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and see you next time.